Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Admissions Live. This is your weekly web show for admissions professionals about the world of admissions. We're on the Higher Ed Live network, and that is all about digital development and professional empowerment. Tonight, we've got Kaitlyn Fields on the show. We're talking about road warrior nutrition and wellness. We have a lot of really great tips for our admissions road warriors. We're going to be talking about how to eat right, stay feeling healthy, trying to alleviate the stress that comes with the job, and to keep us all energized as we're out on the road. So we know that the spring travel recruitment season is kicking off, and this is the perfect time to be chatting about this. So I'm excited to get to the show, but before we do that, we have a few shout outs to our sponsors that make Admissions Live possible. Admissions Live is sponsored by Scavenger, a Google-funded mobile game about going places, doing challenges, and earning points. Check out Michael Stoner's evaluation of Scavenger and its use at several different schools in their recruitment process. Admissions Live is also sponsored by Welcome to College, the home of Marv, the mobile automated research vehicle. Marv recently attended its first admissions open house at, I'm going to butcher this name, Tusculum College in Greenville, Tennessee. Sorry about that. You're going to have to get that pronunciation for me. But it was a huge success. They were engaging their prospective students at their open house. You can contact the team at Welcome to College to get your open house on Marv's spring schedule by emailing info@welcometocollege.com. We sent out a tweet with highlights from that open house. Admissions Live is also sponsored by Integral, the creators of the Schools app on Facebook. Check out how their new social enrollment data is being used to help improve and predict yield. They have this new enrollment data available for now 3 different schools who are using their products, and we sent out a tweet with that link, and we'll have that available in this web archive. And last tonight, Admissions Live is sponsored by Zinch.com, the preferred destination by over 3 million students to research schools and scholarships and to showcase themselves as more than just a test score. Over 1,000 colleges and universities around the world partner with Zinch to attract best fit enrolled students on their largest college search social network. You can learn more about Zinch by emailing outreach@zinch.com or tweet @socialadmission. Tonight's guest is Kaitlyn Fields. She's a nutritionist and dietetics student at the University of Maryland. Kaitlyn is currently working with the USDA Nutrient Data Lab, and she's also working as a nutrition counselor at the University of Maryland Center for Health and Well-Being. She gives all sorts of nutrition talks I'm going to let her talk a little bit about before we get this show started, but without further ado, I want to bring Kaitlyn on as our guest. So hello, Kaitlyn. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming. I'm really excited.
I know, me too. This is great.
Yeah. So Kaitlyn and I go way back, and I've been bugging her to come on my show and talk a little bit about some of the challenges that I know I face as an admissions professional, and to get her expertise and her perspective on it. But Kate, if you want to fill our audience in on a little bit of your background and why you're now studying dietetics and what your interest is in the field.
Sure, definitely. I actually worked initially in marketing and advertising out of school, and I liked it a lot, but I didn't feel like it was the best fit for me. So I decided to return to school to become a registered dietitian. I really like the idea of working with people and to help them lead healthier lives through nutrition. I've always had a really positive relationship with food. I grew up in an Italian family, a lot of cooking, a lot of family-oriented food events. So it's always been an interest to me and a really important part of my life.
Awesome. So tonight on the show, we have a lot of different kinds of angles that we want to tackle regarding nutrition for those who are traveling. So I think this is going to be helpful for not just admissions folks, but for anyone that has a really heavy kind of travel schedule for their workload. But while I think it's a topic that we can discuss at any time, I think it's perfect timing for this show because all of our admissions staff members are getting ready for a really heavy spring recruitment travel season. So usually our fall season is a little bit more demanding, but spring is always crazy. So I know March is a great time to have you on to get everyone prepared. And you've let me know that March is also National Nutrition Month. Yep. So it's perfect timing all around. So let's get started by talking a little bit about why this might be unique for admissions folks. I know that maintaining a healthy lifestyle by diet and exercise is one of those things that we're always told. But what is it about being a professional that's on the road and traveling that might be a little bit different? Why should we be talking about this group specifically?
Well, I think when someone's traveling a lot, they end up eating out a lot. Their schedules are different. They're not as structured. So it gets pretty difficult to keep track of your nutrition, especially when you're relying on eating in the car or rest stops or restaurants, or when the food is being provided for you, you don't have as much influence on what you're eating. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty common from what you and I have talked about for admissions counselors to end up gaining weight during travel season or to find themselves feeling pretty low energy. So hopefully we can talk about some of these things tonight and kind of give people some strategies to use while they travel.
Yeah, definitely. This isn't your average 9-to-5 job. So you're working all sorts of different hours. You're on the road without a kitchen to cook for yourself, or a grocery store to get to. The planning is definitely a challenge. So we'll talk about those kinds of things. But we also know that this issue is not just an issue for admissions counselors. Americans in general struggle with
Absolutely.
this, right?
Yeah, Americans and the world now, not just Americans. So I think, as we all know, obesity rates across the country have increased dramatically. I think right now about 1/3 of adults over the age of 20 are considered obese. And this is definitely a major contributor to the development of chronic disease later in life. So now really is the time to start making some of these changes to improve your nutrition, and it'll definitely help with your overall health and well-being and, how you feel.
Yeah, and you've worked with a client that's been on this kind of a schedule before, right?
I did, actually. We met with someone. He was actually a contestant on The Biggest Loser, which was really cool. And he told us that before going on the show, he worked as an admissions counselor. And one of his biggest challenges was not stopping at that Cinnabon in the airport, or deciding, well, I'm at this drive-through, or I have this unlimited food budget, so right. I better treat myself because someone else is paying. So, yes. And someone who doesn't have food issues would struggle with these things.
Definitely. So I'm hoping some of the challenges that we can chat about tonight are, I want to touch on weight gain. I know that's something that is very common, but I don't want the whole show to be about that. Energy level, I think, is such a cool part of this conversation. So talking about keeping that energy level up, we want to be performing our best and feeling good. So any kinds of tips that you can give us about energy or even managing stress that comes along with this environment. There's certainly an added amount of stress that comes with travel. Eating out is, I think, definitely one of the biggest culprits. So we'll be looking forward to your tips on eating out, or even just eating in the car and snacking. Ways to kind of combat that. The unlimited food budget is definitely a key player, I think, in this challenge, because it's something that you don't necessarily think about being a problem. But now reflecting back on it, it definitely is. So let's talk a little bit about that. But I want you to hopefully give us some strategies to combat these challenges. And for folks that are tuning in, if you use the Admissions Live hashtag, we will catch your questions or other things that you think are challenging for you. We'll be able to ask Kaitlyn throughout the show. So keep that conversation going on the back channel too. So one of the first challenges or gripes I think that we should chat about is that weight loss or that weight gain issue. Weight loss would be,
Yeah,
that would be great. But the weight gain issue, and again, don't want to spend too much time talking about weight gain. I think we know how that happens, but I don't know, maybe we don't. So what are your kinds of thoughts about weight gain?
Well, I think sometimes people like to blame certain foods, or they think, well, if I eat bread, I'm going to gain all this weight. And really what it is weight gain is simply caused by taking in more calories than your body can use in a day. And over time, that's going to build up and your body will start to store those extra calories as fat. So it's not specifically caused by a certain type of food or drink, although empty calorie foods such as sodas or simple carbohydrate foods can contribute to weight gain and obesity because they contain high calorie levels without the nutrients that you really need. So I think that the counselors who are finding themselves gaining weight during travel season are most likely overeating or possibly just under burning calories. And this is again due to the scheduling changes, the lack of structure in your day, high stress levels, which can make you tend to eat more. And then again, the unlimited food budgets and a lot of eating out. And the foods you tend to eat at a restaurant do end up being higher calorie foods. So hopefully the goal from our talk here today, and for these admissions counselors and other individuals who are traveling a lot, is to just start to become more aware of the types of foods that you're eating and to really strike a balance between eating healthily, finding some time to exercise, but also still being able to treat yourself, having dessert, being able to eat out, but still, staying healthy with that.
Right. So I think when, as soon as I hear calories, I think I need to start calculating everything. So I know that there are some handy apps that are out there that if you really do want to help manage your exact calorie intake, you can use some iPhone apps, which are helpful on the road. I know I've used the Lose It app before, and I liked that to keep track of things, but we don't really have to be counting all of our calories, do we? Is that...
It depends. I mean, if you're really someone who's looking to lose weight, you're going to end up needing a moderate calorie deficit every day in order to lose that weight. For that recommendation, you'd have to go online and look up your basal metabolic rate, and based on that, and apps like Lose It will do that for you. You can also meet with your physician or a dietitian, and they can help work out the amount of calories that you need. But in order to lose weight over time, you will end up needing to create that calorie deficit. But instead of just counting the calories every day, you can also just focus on eating healthier foods that end up being lower calorie in general. So those fruits and vegetables, the whole grains, the fiber that fills you up. So those foods really help to keep you on a lower calorie diet.
Perfect. So I want to ask you a more loaded question now. I think even more than weight gain, one of the huge challenges in this job is just simply keeping up with it. It's a really fast-paced schedule. It can be very draining. Anyone that's ever traveled, just simply getting on a plane and going from one side of the country to another drains your energy. So what can you recommend to kind of boost those energy levels?
So I've put together 5 tips for us to focus on that I think will really help to boost energy levels. The first is to really try your best to maintain a balanced diet and to focus on complex foods. So maintaining a balanced diet throughout the day will ensure that you're getting all the nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that your body needs to function properly and to maintain high energy levels. You want to focus on complex foods such as complex carbohydrates, which include low-fat dairy, fruits and vegetables, and whole grains. Also, lean proteins and healthy fats are really important too. And these include nuts and seeds, peanut butter is great, avocados, and also fatty fish such as tuna or salmon. And these foods are really good because they help you to maintain energy that lasts throughout the day. And you also want to limit the foods that are high in refined sugars or simple carbohydrates, the cookies, the sodas, because these types of foods will dramatically spike your blood sugar, and then you'll end up crashing later and you'll end up feeling like you have a much lower energy level than you did earlier.
Awesome. So let's talk about those complex foods a little bit.
Sure.
Avocado might not be easy to get our hands on, even a jar of peanut butter. So do you have, what can you think of that would be a group of snacks or something to look for on a menu? I suppose you could look for that avocado in the salad, but
Sure.
thinking about that travel schedule, how do we keep ourselves conscious of incorporating those complex foods?
Definitely. I think one of your best strategies here can be to plan ahead. So you want to make sure that if you know you're going to be traveling, if you know what your schedule is going to be, to try and pack yourself some of these foods beforehand to travel with. I think getting some raw almonds, some trail mix is great. When you're handed out the sandwich platters, the sub platters at all of the conferences, you can really make those much more nutritious by adding in some of the fruits and vegetables, the tomato, the lettuce, choosing mustard, low-fat mayo, that sort of thing. Just making small changes. If they have a vegetable tray or fruit salad available, definitely go for some of those. You can grab a yogurt in the mornings or pack those with you also. Again, it's really just trying to find these foods where you can, and if you think you won't be able to access them, to try and plan ahead and bring some with you.
Very cool. So that was number one. That's maintain a balanced diet and focus on complex foods. What's number two?
Number two would be to not skip breakfast, and also to try not to skip any other meals. And I know most of us have been guilty from time to time of skipping breakfast, but you really want to eat breakfast because eating breakfast kickstarts your metabolism, and this gives your body a jolt of fuel that will set the tone for the rest of your day. Eating breakfast has been associated with an increased mood, better concentration, and high energy levels throughout the day. So when you see the little mini wheat on the commercial and he's helping that girl in school, he can do the same for you. So you're going to have your breakfast in the morning.
Awesome. So grabbing, if we're on the go, or if you end up at that college fair that's in the morning and they have, a big tray of bagels, it's better to have the bagel and get yourself some carbs than to not have anything at all.
Absolutely. Because what happens when you don't eat breakfast is your body ends up wanting more food later in the day. So when you don't eat earlier on, you end up backloading calories. And so later at night, you're going to eat probably a lot more than you would normally because your body's trying to make up for what you didn't get earlier in the day. So even if you just grab a granola bar, if they have bagels and cream cheese, definitely, I'd say go for those. Whatever you can get in the morning would definitely be better than nothing.
Okay, awesome. So what's number three?
Number three is to power up with power snacks. So power snacks are snacks that include protein, fiber, and some healthy fat all together. So some examples of this are peanut butter on whole grain bread, or a low-fat yogurt with a handful of nuts or dried fruit. The reason for this combination is that the carbohydrates give you a quick energy pick-me-up. The protein keeps your energy up, and the fat makes the energy last. So these types of snacks will keep you fuller for longer and will give you more energy for a longer period of time than, say, just grabbing a cookie or, something small that doesn't really combine the food groups.
So when we're talking about snacks, we have someone tweeting, I won't say who, but someone who likes to splurge on things like the Wendy's Frosty or the pack of M&Ms. What kind of, when we talk about the budget a lot, and you want to be able to kind of treat yourself when you're out to things that you might not have in your normal 9-to-5 job. But what kind of things can actually be treats that are not going to mess up our daily flow or our energy level?
Well, I'm trying to think of things that you'd be getting at a restaurant or even a fast food place, which is a big challenge because a lot of fast food places don't really provide food that's that good for you. So I'm thinking maybe instead of that Frosty, you go for the yogurt parfait.
Okay.
Or, you get fruit instead of dessert, or as your dessert, even chocolate-covered strawberries or a piece of chocolate. It's, has some antioxidants to it.
Instead of the whole bag of M&Ms or...
Right. Although peanut M&Ms, actually, I'd say go for those because you get protein. The peanuts, a little bit of the healthy fat there, too.
Nice. Excellent. So, anonymous viewer tuning in, go for the peanut M&Ms instead of the plain. you mentioned the almonds. I know Starbucks is always a big stop on my route, and they actually do have some pretty good snacks, like the raw almonds that are there. And while I might be treating myself to a coffee, it's good to kind of remember that you can pick up those kinds of healthy snacks at some places while you're out. And maybe you don't want it right then, but just to have it with you for a later time when you do want a snack. I think it's definitely cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're a good resource for that. I think they've started selling some dried fruit also, like apple chips, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And something interesting, Starbucks also that you wouldn't think about, a tall non-fat latte is 10 grams of protein just from the milk. Mm-hmm. So you're getting that extra boost there too.
Awesome. Very good. So we're on to now number 4, I believe, right?
Yes. Okay. So number 4 is to try and find some time to exercise. Studies have shown that even just a 10-minute walk can dramatically increase your energy levels. It's also a great way to combat stress, which is another contributor to low energy levels. What happens when you exercise is that the endorphins that you produce actually depress the stress hormones and ends up increasing your mood and energy levels in a natural way. So do what you can to take a walk, or walk from your hotel to your conference. Try and hit the hotel gym if they have one, or you can even download or bring along a yoga DVD. Is great too.
Yeah, and I'd imagine there are ones that you are, things on YouTube or something if you're on the go and you have a laptop or iPad or something that you could use. But I think it's important to really hammer home what you just said about stress and exercise and how they're related.
Absolutely.
So when you're feeling stressed, a lot of times I'm not a big nap person, but I know a lot of admissions counselors will, in that little downtime between when the high school day is over at 2:00 and your college fair starts at maybe 6:00, it's nap time. Mm-hmm. But should we be pushing ourselves to take that walk instead during that time?
Honestly, I think the nap would almost do just as much good for the stress.
Okay.
For the exercise, you still try and want to get that in. But if you're feeling just completely beat, absolutely. If you have the time to take a nap, it'll do you a world of good.
Okay. Very cool. What do we have for the last point?
The last one is to try and drink more water and less alcohol. So a lot of times dehydration can mask itself as fatigue. And even slight dehydration can leave you feeling really tired and sluggish. And where alcohol comes in is that alcohol is not only calorie dense, but it's also a diuretic. So it ends up increasing your dehydration. So your best bet is to try and drink water throughout the day. I know a lot of places will hand out water bottles, so keep those with you and refill them, and try and limit the amount of alcohol that you consume. It's recommended that women stick to 1 drink a day and men to 2 per day. And this is also coming into play with the calories. Alcohol tends to increase your appetite as well as providing a lot of calories per drink without any of those nutrients that you need.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so water I think is definitely, most of the places that we visit will try to keep us hydrated. Maybe it's not to keep us hydrated, but to keep our voices lubricated, because I know we're doing a lot of talking. So I know folks usually have a lot of bottles of water, but I can definitely tell you that if you get in a situation and you don't have water, you almost turn into panic mode. Mm-hmm. Not just because of your voice, but because you can definitely feel the dehydration. So grabbing that extra case of water before you head out on the trip is something that I think we can do. But let's talk a little bit more about that snacking. So now we know how to keep our energy level up, but meals are still a major problem when you're on this kind of a schedule, because you might not have time to stop and sit down and have a full meal. And when we're talking about, maybe we're stopping and picking up some snacks for the car, maybe we're stopping and picking up a case of water for the car. What other kinds of things would you recommend for folks to do rather than running into skipping meals? Or what I tend to do, it would be having a huge meal late at night, because I finally get back to my hotel room. Yeah. I don't want to do anything but order off room service and go to bed. So what kind of tips do you have for snacking on the road? Let's start with just the snacking on the road.
Okay, sure. Well, one thing you want to do is to make sure that you're eating consistently throughout the day. This goes back to what we kind of said before about not skipping meals because you don't want to end up eating a ton late at night instead. So just being conscious of how much you're eating and just trying to eat every few hours just to keep your metabolism up and to keep you from crashing later. In terms of snacks for the road, I'd recommend that you try and go to your grocery store or even where you're traveling from, hit up the local Trader Joe's or whatever grocery store or convenience store is near you, and stock up on some healthy snacks to have in your hotel room or while you're traveling throughout the day. Some things that are relatively easy to have with you are any kind of whole piece of fruit, you know, an apple, banana, pears, and oranges. Grapes are great too. A lot of times you can find, even in gas stations and Wawas now have the baby carrots or other cut up vegetables and fruit cups. A lot of places will also have low fat, or the Greek yogurts are great. And these are also good if you have a mini fridge in your room, or if you can pack a lunchbox or a cooler and you have some of these colder items with you, it's really nice too. And some places will sell mini trail mix packs. I know Trader Joe's does. You also get the nuts, the raw almonds, dried fruit. These foods are great. They contain a lot of great nutrients, but they also tend to be a little bit higher in the calories. So with the dried fruit and the nuts, just be careful with your portion sizes on those. Another good one might be just to get whole fiber, whole grain cereal is nice. Just get a box of cereal and kind of munch on that. Or peanut butter and crackers too would be a good choice if you can get those.
Cool. Yeah. One of our viewers did mention the cereal on the Quaker oatmeal squares. Were one of the favorites that are coming up on the back channel. But I have to kind of backtrack because I knew this point was going to come up from someone. I didn't want it to be me. But someone wants to dispute your number 5 point about less or more water and less alcohol, saying that alcohol is what got them through their travel season. So, you know, when you are coming home and you're looking for that nightcap, I think you mentioned that 2 drinks for a man, 1 drink for a woman should be, you know, your rule of thumb. But what can you say to our viewers that really like to take the edge off with their alcohol on travel?
I can just say that it comes at a cost. So if you're going to drink, then you have to keep that in mind that, you know, specifically or especially if you're trying to lose weight, then alcohol might be something that you have to cut out or limit, because I think a gin and tonic with non-diet tonic probably has close to 200 to 300 calories. Same with a rum and Coke. So you're looking at, you know, if you're drinking 1 cocktail a night, you might end up gaining close to a pound a week. So those calories really add on. Mm-hmm. So if you want that drink, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to compensate for that later in the week.
All right, very good. So let's chat a little bit about, we talked about the snacks on the road, but let's talk about dining. And what can we do? I mean, there's really a lot of times not a heck of a lot of options, but to eat out at places that don't give you many healthy choices. So what are a few kind of rules of thumb to follow when you're out on the road and restaurants or fast food places are your only options?
Sure, yeah. So something great to try and do is to think ahead and to plan where you're going to eat, and then consider what meal options are available there. So you obviously are going to be knowing where you're going to be staying and traveling. So take some time to find the restaurants in the area that you might be going to. I think apps like Urban Spoon and Yelp can help find those, and a lot of those have the menus listed. So a lot of times, I know people will say they'll pick something out on the menu ahead of time, and then it's easier for them to just go to the restaurant and say, I'm going to have this item, so they don't get sidetracked with a less healthier option. So you want to read the menus carefully for clues to fat and calorie content. So certain menu terms that can mean less fat and calories include words like baked or braised, broiled, definitely grilled, roasted, or steamed. And menu terms that can mean more fat and calories include any kind of fried, batter fried, pan fried, buttered, creamy, breaded, crispy, those types of foods. You want to choose only occasionally and limit those. Some other strategies to use at a restaurant is just to watch your portion sizes. So if you know it's not going to be that healthy, then maybe just limit the amount that you're going to have. And ways that you can do this, you can order a lunch size, or sometimes they'll have a half size or a child size portion. Also, you can split a meal with a friend, or have them put half in a to-go box before you even serve it, and you have it for a lunch tomorrow, something like that.
I have to say that the kids' meals are like one of my treats. Just getting out and ordering something off a kids menu, if they let me, I just find really fun to do. So I'm glad you brought that one up. We have a few folks that are saying different stores and restaurants that they like traveling to. I already mentioned Starbucks. I think they have some pretty good options over the Dunkin' Donuts alternative on the East Coast.
Right.
And another tweet that I have to agree with is Panera. I like
agree.
Panera. You agree? Okay, good.
Yeah, because Panera has a lot of nice salads you can get. And they let you do the half sandwich with the salad, which is great. It helps control the portions a little bit.
Yep. And then you have some good soup options too. So good. So I'm not sure. I can think of a lot in New York City because that's where I travel to, but they're very New York City centric, I think, for options. And if you're in a major metro, things like Urban Spoon are good places to start because you can even narrow it down to, fresh, organic restaurants within your block. And you'll probably find something if you're in a major metro. But great tips for those folks that are probably in the middle of nowhere traveling to those far off boarding schools or wherever your travel territory might be, and you're really limited in options. So thanks for that. We're going to try to put as many of these tips up on higheredlive.com in the archive so that folks have a little bit more of a written guideline to go by too. So this has been great. I want to quickly hit on maybe our last point of food contact, which is actually at the college fairs. And I think you already kind of alluded to the famous sub platter. That usually by the end of spring and by the end of fall, if I see another sub platter, I will scream. But almost every, I would say 85%, maybe 90% of nights when you are given dinner at an event, it is a 6-foot-long sub or a sub tray, or, if we're lucky, maybe it's a tray of wraps. But that same kind of lunch meat and in the mornings, it's the bagels and the pastries. Usually with the sub tray, there's a cookie tray. So how I think you touched on this a little bit once about selecting maybe the mustard over the mayo, but what other kinds of tips can you give us?
Sure. So when sandwiches or subs or wraps are your only option, you obviously only have so much to work with, but from that selection, try and choose the lean meats, such as turkey or chicken breast if it's available. Tuna, if it's with low-fat mayo, is a really great option. And you can always, again, boost the nutrition of all these types of sandwiches by adding in the vegetables, adding in lettuce, tomato, peppers, any other vegetables that they're offering you. And again, to opt for the low-fat spreads, the mustard, the light mayo, maybe the dressing. If they're offering you fruit or salad with it, maybe try and fill up on some of those too. But again, you don't want to eliminate the protein. So the sandwich is still good because it gives you that protein.
Okay, good. So, and we might even be able to supplement with some of those snacks that we're carrying too.
Yeah.
Right. So, awesome. So, you mentioned staying hydrated. We know we talked a little about hydration with alcohol, but I think it being one of those key components to boosting energy, and that we're usually well equipped with water, but I know I usually am looking for another kind of drink to help me boost my energy during the day. It's probably because I'm dehydrated and think I need more. But what if we are stocked up on water, but we're looking for that other kind of energy drink, what should we be looking at?
Well, I probably wouldn't recommend any specific energy drink.
Right, that energy drink.
So a drink that might provide some energy. Well, I would say to go with maybe some of the unsweetened iced teas, or even hot tea, green or herbal tea is great. These provide some flavor with a lot of antioxidants, but without the calories. So those are good. The water is always great. If they have juice available, try and select 100% fruit juice or vegetable juice, like a V8 if it's possible. The 100% juice contains a lot of vitamins, but it can be a little bit high in calories. So maybe just limit that maybe once a day with breakfast or lunch. Coffee is also low calorie when taken black or with skim milk, but it's also high in caffeine. So that can also tend to dehydrate you and can interrupt your sleep patterns when it's taken in large amounts. So I think it's recommended to limit your caffeine to 300 milligrams a day. And I believe a venti Starbucks is 500 milligrams, if that gives you some kind of perspective with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the coffee's okay, but just maybe limit yourself, and don't go overboard with that. Same with the sodas and the energy drinks. Those are going to give you a lot of sugar and calories and caffeine, but they won't do anything for your health, and especially nothing for your waistline. And sometimes even the sweetness of the diet sodas can trigger sugar cravings and lead you to overeating later in the day. They're doing some studies on that now, so that's not entirely clear yet. So some other strategies when you're visiting a Starbucks or another coffee place, you can choose the lower calorie beverages. Some ideas for that include the tall, non-fat plain, or the skinny lattes that they have are nice. You get some of the flavor without all the calories. You can do a cappuccino. You can do the teas like we talked about. And you can also do the cafe au lait or the Americano with the steamed milk. You get the skim milk, some protein, not as many calories. Probably want to stay away from the frozen and blended drinks, or the pumpkin spice latte. Has a lot of calories. So yeah,
all right.
You have to eliminate them. We don't want you to restrict, but you just want to maintain a balance and understand, that you just have to keep things in mind in terms of the amount of calories and sugar that you're taking in.
Awesome, good tips. So we're getting close to time, and I know I have a few more questions. I just want to make sure that we let folks know that are watching, if you have any questions for Kate, be sure to tweet them out now with the Admissions Live hashtag, and we'll get her to answer those before we sign off. But here are a couple of my personal questions.
Okay.
I mentioned before, I'm a late night eater.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a point where it's too late and I should just suck it up and go to bed? Is there a cutoff point, or how late might be too late? It's one of my questions.
Personally, I don't think there is. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that personally. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. For me, if you're hungry, you should be eating. Your body's telling you that you need to eat. So it's really important to, pay attention to those hunger and full signals, to not be overeating when you're not hungry, but when you are hungry, to, give your body what it's asking for. So in terms of the late night eating, I would just make sure that you're not overeating or you're just sitting and snacking late at night, because really what it comes down to, again, is the amount of calories that you're taking in. So if you're eating late at night, but it's all you've had all day, you obviously need to be eating. But if you've been eating all day and you're sitting on the couch eating, some Ben and Jerry's, those are probably just extra calories.
Right.
But the time, it has no effect.
Okay, that's good to know for me. Next question that's up, and it goes back to the food budget. So when there is this amount of money that's allotted to us, I think you've given us some good examples of how we can spend it outside of maybe the restaurant or stopping at the Cinnabon in the airport and maybe stocking up on items during the day. But how do you fight that? How do folks fight that urge to spend just because they can? Or that urge to eat just because you can and it's there and it's free for you? What kind of tips can you give to folks that are really fighting that?
Well, I wish I had a per diem to buy my groceries. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Healthy food tends to be more expensive than less healthy food. So, you know, here's a free pass to go spend some money on healthier food if you can. So that's great. Take yourself out to dinner, but still buy those healthier snacks, invest in some of that. So use your money, but, get some of the healthier foods that maybe you wouldn't normally get.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So, last comment from Twitter. Actually, let me double check to make sure that there aren't any more for us. Last question from Twitter is that going back to the kids' meals, they're asking if Happy Meals are really what you're suggesting.
No, they're not.
Okay.
I was talking about portion size with that. So I guess if McDonald's is your only option within a 20-mile radius, you have to go to McDonald's. I'd say get a grilled chicken sandwich or something like that. Try and get something healthier on the menu. Get the yogurt, get the fruit cup. I know they're making efforts. So with the kids' meals, I was talking about more of the portion sizing. So an adult-sized portion tends to be 2 or 3 times more than we really need to be eating, but a child-sized portion might be more appropriate.
So I know you have some resources for us to share. What are those? And I'll make sure that we get them tweeted out.
Sure. There are a couple of really great websites for nutrition that I like to turn to. The first is eatright.org. This is a great site to visit for any nutrition-related questions, healthy eating tips. It's the site for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and this is the world's largest organization of nutrition and food professionals, so it's a really good resource to turn to. And another one that I really like is called the Nutrition Source, and this is a website put out through the Harvard School of Public Health, and it's another really good resource. They have a lot of information about nutrition and healthy eating tips as well.
All right, very good. We have those out for folks. Are there any kinds of last words that you want to give before we sign off and send our folks out on the road?
Sure. Just make sure that you're being conscious with your food choices. Focus on getting those healthier foods in first before you go out and treat yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kate. I had a lot of fun having you on the show. And maybe before we kick off for the fall, we can have you back with some follow-up questions for folks.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and sign off. This has been another great episode of Admissions Live. We're coming to you again next week, the same time, same place. That's Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on higheredlive.com. Next week we have Wendy Livingston and Tina Coleman from the from William and Mary. And Wendy works in admissions. Tina works in the creative services department. We're going to be chatting about their collaboration and what their admissions office is putting out as a result of that collaboration. So I hope you can tune in next week. As always, we will see you on higheredlive.com. Thanks, everyone.